My sister brought in private detectives to prove I was lying about my thriving life after cutting off my toxic family. She planned to expose me as a failure at my grandmother's birthday dinner. But their faces went white when the investigator's report hit the table and revealed. Isn't it chilling how the deepest betrayals often come from those closest to you? I thought I'd finally escaped the suffocating shadow of my perfect older sister, Natalie, only to find out she was plotting a public execution of my reputation 5 years later. But what she didn't realize was that her meticulously planned downfall for me was actually going to be her own. The air in my parents' opulent dining room that night felt thick and suffocating, heavy with unspoken resentments that were about to explode. 5 years ago, it was a crisp autumn evening, but inside, a storm was brewing. The last time I saw Natalie's smug face, she was smirking across the polished mahogany table, basking in the glow of our mother's theatrical tears and our father's venomous pronouncements. "I always knew you'd amount to nothing," his words echoed, sharp and cold, a familiar wound reopening. That night, that utterly awful night, was my breaking point. It was the absolute last time I would let my family make me feel utterly small, utterly worthless. My mother, Eleanor, caught between dramatic sniffles, pleaded, "Sweetheart, we just want what's best for you. If you'd just listen to Natalie about the job at her firm." My voice, surprisingly steady despite the inferno of rage bubbling in my gut, cut her off. The job, she meant, was an entry-level admin position, the kind where I'd be fetching Natalie's coffee. Natalie's perfect, infuriating smile didn't even waver. "Everyone has to start somewhere, little sister," she cooed, her eyes glittering with mock sympathy. "Some of us just start a little higher than others." The familiar, agonizing knot tightened in my stomach. For 26 years, I had been suffocating in Natalie's shadow. She effortlessly collected accolades, while I collected criticisms. Every single one of my achievements was weighed against hers and found lacking. And every single mistake I made? Oh, those became family legends, whispered and retold at every holiday gathering. "I already have a job," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice even. "I'm doing well at a tech startup." My father, David, swirling his expensive whiskey, scoffed, a sound laced with pure disdain. "Playing with computers, you mean? Meanwhile, your sister is running charitable organizations, making real differences in people's lives." I couldn't stop myself. The words just slipped out, a raw, desperate challenge. "Making differences in her bank account, you mean?" The silence that followed was deafening, a vacuum where my family's casual cruelty usually resided. Natalie's perfect smile finally cracked, a jagged fissure appearing in her carefully constructed facade. "What exactly are you implying?" she hissed, her eyes flashing, suddenly feral. Before I could even respond, my mother swooped in, a human shield for her golden child. "Chloe, apologize to your sister right now after everything she's done for you." "Done for me?" I actually laughed. It sounded foreign, even to my own ears, a harsh, brittle sound. "What exactly has she done?" I challenged, my voice rising, "except make sure I never forgot my place." That was it. My father slammed his glass down, the deafening crash echoing through the suddenly tense room. "That's enough. You've always been jealous of Natalie's success. If you spent half as much time working as you do complaining. I work 60 hours a week." I yelled, standing up abruptly, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I'm leading development on a major project. But you've never once asked about it, have you?" "Sit down," my mother ordered, her voice sharp, cutting. "We're not finished." "Actually," I said, grabbing my purse, my hand shaking with a mixture of fear and defiance, but my resolve hardening like steel. "We are." I took a deep, shuddering breath. "I'm done being the family disappointment. I'm done watching you worship Natalie while treating me like I'm broken. I'm just done." Natalie, ever the manipulator, piped up, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Mom, Dad, she's just having another one of her episodes. Remember that time in high school when—" "Goodbye," I cut her off, already walking towards the door. "Don't try to contact me." My father's voice, cold and laced with threat, followed me like a chill wind. "If you walk out that door, don't expect any help when you fail. And you will fail." I paused in the doorway, turning back for one last, searing look. My mother's mascara-streaked face, my father's rigid disapproval, and Natalie's sickeningly satisfied smirk. They were a perfect family portrait, just as they always had been, with one glaring, unbearable imperfection. Me. Watch me, I said, a promise and a curse whispered into the silence, and then I closed the door behind me. 5 years passed. 5 years of absolute, blissful silence from them, but 5 years of building something they couldn't diminish, couldn't taint. 5 years of becoming someone they wouldn't even recognize. 5 years of peace. Until my phone buzzed this morning. It was a message from my cousin, Brooke. Hey, stranger. You're not going to believe this, but Grandma Eleanor's 80th birthday party is next month. The whole family's coming. Natalie's organizing everything, and she's planning something wild. She's been asking about you a lot. I stared at the message, my coffee growing cold beside my laptop. Through my office window, I could see the sprawling city skyline, a breathtaking view that had graced magazine covers featuring my company. The same view my family would never in a million years believe I owned. Another message from Brooke popped up. You should come show them who you are now. My finger hovered over the delete button, a familiar instinct to disappear, but something stopped me. Maybe it was time. Time to show them exactly who Chloe Francis had become, while they weren't watching. My phone buzzed again, this time with a news alert. Tech innovator makes Forbes 30 under 40. My own face stared back at me from the screen. I'd insisted they omit my middle name for the article. My family never read tech news anyway. I thought of Natalie, so desperate to know what I'd been doing, planning something wild for Grandma's party. My sister always did love a good show. Well, I murmured to myself, a slow, dangerous smile spreading across my face. Let's give her one. I typed a quick reply to Brooke. Tell me more about this party. Someone's been poking around your socials, Michael said, dropping into the chair across my desk, a concerned frown on his face. And I don't mean the usual tech journalists. I minimized the quarterly reports on my screen. A familiar chill crawled up my spine. Let me guess, I said, my voice flat. My sister. Not directly, Michael leaned forward, lowering his voice even though we were alone in my sprawling office. But that cousin of yours, Brooke, the chatty one who messaged you about the party? She told me Natalie's been showing everyone pictures of you outside some luxury condo in Manhattan. Interesting, considering you've never posted anything about where you live. Exactly. Michael had been my right hand since the startup days, back when we were coding in a dusty basement. He knew everything, including why I kept my success a closely guarded secret from my family. She hired someone, Chloe. A pie. The words hit me like a cold wave. I felt that same familiar chill, the one I used to get right before particularly brutal family dinners. You're sure? Remember Kevin from IT security? His wife works for an investigations firm. She overheard your sister's name mentioned in a briefing. My phone buzzed. Another message from Brooke. OMG, you have to hear what Natalie just told everyone in the family group chat. She says you've been lying about everything. Says she has proof you're not who you say you are. I showed Michael the message. He whistled low. She's trying to set you up for something big at that party. Let her try. I stood up, walking to the panoramic window. 15 floors below, people looked like ants scurrying between skyscrapers. She wants to expose me? Fine. But she might not like what she finds. What are you thinking? Before I could answer, my assistant, Rachel, buzzed in. Miss Francis, your 2 o'clock is here. The venture capital meeting. Thanks, Rachel. We'll finish this later, Michael said, heading for the door. He paused, looking back at me with a knowing glint in his eye. Just be careful, okay? I know that look. You're planning something. After he left, I opened my laptop and pulled up my private email. 3 new messages from family members I hadn't spoken to in years, all asking variations of the same question. Was it true? Had I really been pretending to be successful? I clicked delete on all of them without a second thought. My phone rang. Grandma Eleanor's number. My finger hovered over decline, but something made me answer. Hello. About time you picked up. Her voice, sharp, clear, and taking no nonsense, was exactly as I remembered. Your sister is telling everyone you're some sort of con artist. Is she now? Don't play coy with me, girl. Are you coming to this party or not? I hesitated. Would you want me there? Wouldn't ask if I didn't. A pause. Something's not right with all this. Natalie's too excited. Like she's planning a public execution instead of a birthday party. Sounds like her. Eleanor's tone softened slightly. Chloe, what really happened 5 years ago? Before I could answer, my email pinged. A new message. No subject line, from an address I didn't recognize, just a photo attachment. I opened it and felt my blood freeze. It was me, walking into my office building yesterday morning, coffee in hand. The angle suggested it was taken from across the street. I have to go, Grandma. I'll think about the party. I hung up and enlarged the photo. In the corner, barely visible, a watermark, Arthur Investigations. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. Interesting career trajectory for someone who was playing with computers 5 years ago. Your sister says hello. I should have felt scared. But instead, I felt something else. Something harder. Colder. Something that had been building, simmering for 5 long years. I dialed Michael. Remember that contact you mentioned? The one whose wife works at the PI firm? I need a meeting today. My voice was calm, steady. They're watching my building, Michael. Taking pictures. If Natalie wants to play detective, fine. I looked at the photo again, at my designer suit, the logo of my company clearly visible behind me. But she forgot something important. What's that? He asked, a hint of concern in his voice. I'm not that scared little sister anymore. And I have resources she can't even imagine. What are you going to do? Michael asked. I thought about Natalie's smirk that last night, about all the countless times she'd torn me down just to build herself up. About the lies she was spreading now, trying to destroy whatever she thought I'd become. I'm going to let her finish her investigation, I said quietly, the words tasting like ice. And then, I'm going to show her what a real takedown looks like. The truth was coming. All of it. And this time, I'd be the one smirking across the table. Arthur Mann's office looked exactly like you'd expect a private investigator's workspace to look. Weathered leather chairs, filing cabinets stacked to the ceiling, and a desk that had seen better decades. The man himself, however, was a surprise. Crisp suit, sharp, assessing eyes, and a demeanor that suggested he'd rather be anywhere but here. Miss Francis, he said, not standing, his voice dry. I assume this is about the surveillance photos. You assumed right, I replied, sitting across from him, matching his posture. Want to tell me why you're taking pictures of me for my sister? He studied me for a long moment, his gaze unwavering. Professional courtesy prevents me from discussing other clients. Professional courtesy didn't stop you from sending me that photo. A slight, almost imperceptible smile crossed his face. That? Yes, that it did. I leaned forward, my voice low and firm. So, either you're playing both sides, or something about this case made you reach out. Which is it? Arthur opened a drawer and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Your sister hired me to prove you were lying about your success. She was quite insistent that I'd find evidence of fraud, deception, maybe even criminal activity. He paused, his gaze meeting mine. And instead, I found this. He slid the envelope across the desk. Take a look. Inside were documents, photos, financial records, my company's valuation reports, pictures of my penthouse, my vacation home in the Berkshires, press clippings about my tech innovations, everything I'd worked for, laid out in black and white. Impressive portfolio, Arthur said quietly, watching my face. Self-made, clean, legal. The exact opposite of what your sister wanted to find. So why show me? Because while investigating you, I found something else. Something that wasn't supposed to be there. He pulled another, thinner envelope from his desk. This was misfiled in your sister's background documents. I don't think she knows I have it. My hand shook slightly as I opened it. Inside was a single page, a bank statement from Natalie's charitable organization. Red flags jumped out immediately. Irregular transfers. Mismatched amounts. Funds moving to personal accounts. Is this what I think it is? I whispered, my eyes still glued to the paper. Arthur nodded. Your sister's been embezzling from her own charity. Small amounts at first, then larger ones. The investigation into her activities started 3 months ago. She doesn't know. Not yet. But she will. He leaned back, a grim satisfaction in his eyes. Here's the thing, Miss Francis. I don't like being used. Your sister hired me to destroy you, fed me lies about who you were. Instead, I found someone who built something real. My phone buzzed. Another message from Brooke. Natalie's telling everyone she's going to expose you at Grandma's party. Says she has proof you're living a lie. I showed Arthur the message. He actually laughed. She's planning to present my report at the party, he said, shaking his head. Thinks it'll humiliate you. Show everyone you're a fraud. He gestured to the envelopes on the desk. But instead she'll be presenting proof of your legitimate success to your entire family. He slid them towards me. Take them, both of them. Consider it my apology for the surveillance. I stood, gathering the documents. Why are you really helping me? He smiled grimly. Let's just say I have a sister too. And sometimes, karma needs a little push. Outside his office, I called Michael. Well, he asked, his voice tight with anticipation. It's better than we thought, I said, a slow, triumphant smile spreading across my face. Natalie's not just trying to expose me. She's going to accidentally expose herself. What do you mean? She's been stealing from her charity, Michael. And she's about to hand me proof of both my success and her crimes in front of our entire family. A low whistle escaped him. That's poetic justice. I smiled, thinking of all those awful family dinners, all those smirks and cutting remarks. The best part? She's paying for her own downfall. Want to guess where she got the money to hire Arthur? Don't tell me, Michael groaned. The family trust account. The same one she always said I wasn't responsible enough to access. My phone buzzed again. An email from my mother. Subject, Chloe, please don't come to the party. Don't make things worse than they already are. I deleted it without responding. 5 years ago, I'd walked away from their table feeling broken. This time, I'd walk in knowing exactly who I was, and, more importantly, who Natalie really was. Michael, I said, sliding into my car, the heavy envelopes on the passenger seat. Remember how you said I was planning something? Yeah, I'm not anymore. I'm just going to let Natalie's plan play out exactly as she intended. Sometimes, the best revenge is letting people destroy themselves. The party was 2 weeks away. For once, I couldn't wait for a family gathering. Holy shit, Michael whispered, spreading Arthur's documents across my office table. This is comprehensive. I nodded, watching him flip through pages of my life's work. Forbes features, property deeds, company valuations, all of it meticulously documented. Natalie wanted proof. She got it. But not the proof she wanted. Michael held up a glossy photo of me speaking at a tech conference. This is going to backfire spectacularly. My phone lit up. Another message from Natalie. The first direct contact in 5 years. Hope you're ready for Grandma's party, little sister. Time to show everyone who you really are. I showed Michael the message. He snorted. She has no idea, does she? None. I picked up the second envelope, the one containing Natalie's secrets. But this is the real bomb. We spent the next hour reviewing the charity's financial records. The pattern was clear. Small withdrawals at first, growing larger over time. Money meant for children's programs, diverted to personal accounts. Luxury purchases disguised as operational expenses. Look at this, Michael pointed to a particular transaction. She used charity funds to hire Arthur. Not just that. I pulled up my banking app. She also drained $10,000 from the family trust account, the one she manages, on the same day. Can she do that legally? No. It requires all beneficiaries' approval. I laughed darkly. She probably figured I'd never know since I haven't touched that account in years. My office door opened and Rachel poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but you need to see this. Natalie just posted something in your family's Facebook group. I pulled it up on my laptop. There it was, a long, seemingly heartfelt post about protecting the family from deception and revealing painful truths. She'd even tagged Grandma Eleanor. The comments, Michael said, leaning over my shoulder. Look at them. Dozens of relatives chiming in with support. My mother writing, "It's for the best, sweetheart. She needs help." My father adding, some people can't handle the truth. Only one comment stood out. Grandma Eleanor's, careful what truths you dig for, girl. You might not like what you find. Grandma knows something, Michael observed. Grandma always knows something. I closed the laptop. That's why Natalie's doing this at her birthday party. She thinks Grandma's approval will legitimize her attack. My phone buzzed again. Arthur, this time. Your sister just demanded the final report. Says she needs it for a family presentation. Thought you should know. I typed back, let her have it. Michael raised an eyebrow. You're really going to let her do this? Watch, I said, pulling up the trust account records on my screen. Natalie, so focused on exposing me, she's getting sloppy. Look at these transfers. She's been stealing for months, thinking no one would notice. But you did. No, I smiled, a cold, hard line. Grandma did. 3 weeks ago, she requested an audit of all family accounts. That's what triggered the investigation into Natalie's charity. So, when Natalie presented Arthur's report, she'd be presenting evidence of my success to a grandmother who already knew about her fraud. I leaned back. Sometimes, the best revenge is just sitting back and watching. Rachel appeared again. Miss Francis, the board meeting is in 10 minutes. Thanks, Rachel. I stood, straightening my jacket. Michael, can you finish reviewing these? I want to know every detail before the party. Sure, he hesitated. But, are you really going to expose her in front of everyone? I thought about all the times Natalie had humiliated me at family gatherings. All the smirks, the subtle digs, the way she'd positioned herself as the successful sister while painting me as the failure. No, I said finally, picking up my briefcase. I'm going to let her expose herself. My phone lit up one last time. A message from Grandma Eleanor. Got my party invitation today. Says you're coming. About time, girl. Bring that backbone. I know you've grown. I smiled, typing back, don't worry, Grandma. I'm not the same person who left 5 years ago. Good, she replied immediately. Because neither is your sister. And only one of you is going to like how this party ends. Looking at the documents spread across my table, proof of both my rise and Natalie's fall, I knew exactly which one of us that would be. Michael. I called as I headed to my meeting. Make sure those documents are somewhere safe. The party's in 10 days, and Natalie's not the only one who knows how to make a presentation. Sometimes karma needs a little help, and sometimes it just needs an audience. The week before Grandma's party, the messages started flooding in. First came my mother's daily guilt trips. Please reconsider coming. You'll only embarrass yourself. Why can't you just let Natalie help you? We're only trying to protect you from yourself. Delete. 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 I was in the middle of a board meeting when Brooke called 3 times. You need to hear this, she said, her voice frantic when I finally stepped out to answer. I just overheard Natalie on the phone with Arthur. She's planning to do this presentation thing right after Grandma's cake. Says she's going to save the family from your lies or something. Did she mention what lies exactly? No. Brooke lowered her voice conspiratorially. But she's acting weird, Chloe. Like, manic almost. Keeps checking her bank accounts on her phone. Yesterday, she tried to access the trust fund again, but Grandma's locked it down for routine audit purposes. I smiled. How did Natalie take that? She threw her phone across the room. Perfect. The pressure was getting to. Arthur's report. I know about a lot of things. She pulled out her phone, showed me an email. Like this audit report on your sister's charity. Interesting reading. Grandma, I began, but she cut me off. Don't worry. I won't spoil her big presentation. She stood, straightening her jacket. Just tell me one thing. Are you ready for this? For Natalie's attack. Her eyes were still. No. For the fallout? Because when this is over, nothing in this family will be the same. Before I could respond, my phone lit up with a message from my father. Chloe, your mother's in tears over what you're putting Natalie through. I hope you're happy. I showed it to Grandma. She read it and actually laughed. A deep, throaty sound of pure amusement. Oh, they have no idea what's coming, do they? She headed for the door, then paused. Wear that navy suit to the party? The one from your Forbes shoot? It'll look good in the photos. What photos? The ones everyone will be taking when Natalie's presentation backfires, she winked. I may be turning 80, but I still know how to stage a show. After she left, Michael came in. Was that really your grandmother? The one and only. She seemed terrifying. I was going to say prepared. My phone buzzed one final time. Natalie. Last chance, little sister. Back out now or I'll destroy everything you've pretended to build. I thought about the documents in my safe, about Grandma's knowing smile. About 5 years of silence and strength. You can't destroy what's real, I typed back. Then I pulled up the party invitation on my screen. 3 days to go. 3 days until Natalie would stand up, thinking she was about to tear me down, only to reveal her own destruction instead. Michael, I called out, clear my schedule for Monday. I've got a birthday party to attend and a sister to watch self-destruct. The country club ballroom fell silent when I walked in. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Champagne glasses frozen halfway to lips, all eyes turning to watch me enter. I spotted Natalie near the cake table, her face going from smug to a mask of pure shock as she took in my appearance. The navy suit had the exact effect Grandma predicted. Professional, powerful, expensive. Chloe, my mother's voice cracked, a strangled gasp. What are you? How are you? Happy birthday, Grandma, I said, ignoring my mother completely and walking straight to where Grandma Eleanor sat in her place of honor. I handed her a small, wrapped package. Right on time, Grandma said, her voice carrying loud enough for everyone to hear. She patted the empty seat beside her. Sit. Whispers erupted around the room. This seat, right next to the birthday girl, was supposed to be Natalie's. That's my place. Natalie said, rushing over, her face contorted. Mom, tell her. Make her sit somewhere else. Grandma cut in, her tone leaving no room for argument. It's my birthday. I'll seat who I want, where I want. I caught my father's eye across the room. He looked away first. The next hour was a symphony of awkward small talk and pointed questions. Relatives I hadn't seen in years suddenly wanted to know everything about my life. I gave them nothing, just smiled and turned their questions back on them. Enough chit-chat. Natalie finally announced, tapping her champagne glass, a predatory glint in her eyes. It's time for the special presentation I prepared. She pulled out a thick envelope, Arthur's report, and moved to the small podium set up near Grandma's chair. Before we begin, my mother interrupted, her voice strained. Perhaps Chloe should step out. No, Grandma said firmly, her gaze sweeping the room. Everyone stays. Natalie cleared her throat, a smirk playing on her lips. As you all know, family means everything to me. That's why it breaks my heart to expose what I'm about to expose. She looked directly at me, a venomous triumph in her eyes. Some people have been deceiving us, living lies, pretending to be something they're not. I sat back, relaxed, and let her talk. I hired a private investigator, she continued, pride swelling in her voice, to uncover the truth about my sister's supposed success and what he found. Show us, Grandma interrupted, her voice calm but firm. Stop talking and show us what he found. Natalie faltered slightly, but quickly recovered. Of course. I'll start with these photos. She pulled out the first one, me, entering my office building, the company logo clearly visible behind me. This is where my sister claims to work, she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. A tech company valued at. She stopped. Actually reading the paper for the first time, her face went from smug to bone white. Go on, Grandma encouraged, a slight smile touching her lips. What's the company valued at? This can't be right, Natalie mumbled, shuffling frantically through more papers. These documents show what? I asked quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. Property deeds, she mumbled, her voice cracking. Stock options, board member appointments, Forbes interviews. The room was dead silent now, everyone watching as Natalie's hands started to shake uncontrollably. Read it, Grandma commanded, her voice like steel. Read what that investigator found about Chloe. She's the CEO, Natalie whispered, the words barely audible. The company, it's hers. All of it. My mother made a choking sound. My father's whiskey glass slipped from his hand, shattering on the polished floor with a sickening crash. "Keep going," Grandma said. "There's more, isn't there?" But Natalie had reached the last pages. The ones about her charity. I saw the exact moment she recognized what she was holding. Her face went from pale to a ghastly gray. I think there's been a mistake," she stammered, frantically trying to hide the documents. "These papers got mixed up." "No mistake," I said, standing slowly, my voice calm and clear, cutting through the sudden tension in the room. "Arthur is very thorough. He documents everything." I pulled out my own envelope, the one I'd retrieved from his office. "Including these bank transfers from the family trust account. The ones you made without approval. You had no right." Natalie shrieked, her voice shrill, hysterical. "Those records are private." "Like the charity's records?" I asked softly, my gaze locking onto hers. The room erupted in confused questions, relatives demanding explanations. My mother was crying again, but for a very different reason now. My father tried to reach Natalie, who was backing away from the podium, her eyes wide with terror. "Enough." Grandma's voice, sharp and commanding, cut through the chaos. She turned to Natalie, her expression unwavering. "You wanted to expose the truth. Well, congratulations. You did. But not the truth you expected," I added, a cold satisfaction spreading through me. Natalie looked around wildly, seeing the faces of our family transform from shock to understanding and, finally, to utter judgment. Then she ran. She ran straight out of the ballroom, leaving her damning presentation scattered behind her. Grandma picked up her champagne glass, a serene smile on her face. "Well," she said calmly, raising it slightly. "Her. Thanks, Brooke. Keep me posted." Back in my office, Michael was waiting with more news. "Your sister just tried to get into the building. Security stopped her." I walked to the window. 15 floors below, I could just make out Natalie's signature red coat as she stormed to her car. What did she want? "To speak with the CEO." Michael grinned. "Guess she doesn't know that's you." My phone buzzed. A text from Arthur. "Your sister's getting desperate. Asked me to dig deeper. Find something more damaging." I told her the report was final. I was about to respond when another call came in. "Grandma Eleanor." "You busy?" she asked, her voice calm as ever. "Never too busy for you, Grandma." "Good, because I'm outside your building." I froze. "What?" "Saw your sister making a scene down here. Figured it was time we talked." A pause. "Nice office you've got. Corner suite, I'm guessing." 10 minutes later, Grandma Eleanor sat across from me, looking exactly as I remembered, elegant, sharp-eyed, and completely unimpressed by the panoramic view that made most visitors gasp. "So," she said, setting down her teacup, her gaze piercing. "This is what you've been hiding." I wasn't hiding. "Save it," she waved her hand dismissively. "I've known about your success for months. What I want to know is why you let them think otherwise." I met her gaze evenly. Would they have believed me if I told them? "No," she admitted, a sigh escaping her lips. "They'd have assumed you were lying, just like Natalie does now." She smiled slightly. "Even though she's seen the proof." I'd say this is turning out to be quite the memorable birthday party." She smiled at me, a knowing glint in her eyes. "And we haven't even had cake yet." The silence after Natalie's exit lasted exactly 12 seconds before my mother found her voice again. "This is your fault," she shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. "You set her up." "Did I force her to hire a PI?" I asked calmly, my voice steady. "Did I make her steal from her charity?" "There must be an explanation," my father cut in, his face pale. "Natalie wouldn't." "Wouldn't what?" Grandma Eleanor's voice cracked like a whip, silencing him instantly. "Wouldn't lie? Wouldn't steal? Wouldn't try to publicly humiliate her sister." She picked up the scattered papers, a grim expression on her face. "The proof is right here, David. Your perfect daughter is a fraud. And your other daughter," Brooke spoke up from the back, her voice clear and strong. "The one you called a failure? Turns out she's the real success story." More relatives chimed in, the tide turning as the truth finally sank in. Aunt Susan asking about the missing charity funds meant for her daughter's medical treatment. Uncle Richard demanding to know about the trust account transfers. Cousins scrolling through their phones, finding my company's website, my interviews, my achievements. All this time, my mother whispered, sinking into a chair, her face a mask of disbelief. All these years you were successful, I supplied, my voice devoid of emotion. Accomplished everything you wanted Natalie to be. Why didn't you tell us? My father demanded, his eyes wide. Would you have believed me? I looked him straight in the eye, my gaze unwavering. 5 years ago, you said I'd fail. That I was nothing compared to Natalie. Well, here's the truth, Dad. While she was stealing from sick children's charities, I was building something real. I need to find Natalie. My mother stood up shakily, her voice desperate. She needs me. Sit down, Eleanor. Grandma's tone froze her in place. For once in your life, face what's in front of you instead of running to Natalie. A commotion at the door drew everyone's attention. Arthur Mann walked in, holding a folder. Sorry to interrupt, he said, nodding briefly to me. But there's something else you should all know. He paused, letting the words hang in the air. The police are here. My mother collapsed back into her chair. My father went visibly pale. I was required by law to report the charity fraud once I discovered it, Arthur explained, his voice flat. They've been building a case for weeks. Right on cue, 2 detectives entered the ballroom, their uniforms stark against the festive decorations. They barely glanced at the birthday banners as they approached our stunned group. We're looking for Natalie Francis, one said, showing his badge. She left, my mother whispered, trembling. We know. We just arrested her in the parking lot. The room exploded again. Relatives gasping, my mother sobbing, my father arguing frantically with the detectives. Through it all, Grandma sat calmly, sipping her champagne. Well, she said to me quietly, a soft smile playing on her lips. Was it worth the wait? I watched my parents rush out to find Natalie. I watched my relatives huddled in shocked groups, sharing stories of how Natalie had borrowed money, or made promises through her charity that never materialized. I didn't want this, I admitted, a hollow feeling in my chest. You just wanted the truth, Grandma finished, her hand gently touching mine. And now everyone has it. She stood up, commanding attention like always. This party's not over. My granddaughter, my successful, honest granddaughter, is finally home, and I want cake. Later, as servers cut the elaborate birthday cake Natalie had ordered, Brooke brought me a glass of champagne. That was intense, she said, clinking her glass against mine. But you know what's crazy? No one's even surprised about Natalie anymore. They're all talking about you. About how they should have seen it. Seen what? That you were the strong one, the real deal. Natalie tried to tear you down and exposed herself instead. That's some karma. My phone buzzed. A text from Michael. News about your sister's arrest is hitting the business feeds. Want me to handle PR? No, I typed back. Let the truth speak for itself. Chloe. My father's voice made me look up. He stood awkwardly, looking older than I'd ever seen him. Your mother and I are going to the police station. But first, I need to say, don't. I cut him off, my voice firm. Save your apologies. They're 5 years too late. He nodded slowly, understanding finally showing in his eyes. You really did it, didn't you? Everything we said you couldn't do. No, I corrected him, my gaze unwavering. Everything you never bothered to see me do. As he walked away, Grandma raised her glass in my direction. Around us, relatives were already shifting, adapting to the new family dynamic. One where Natalie wasn't the golden child and I wasn't the failure. Happy birthday, Grandma, I said, raising my glass in return. She smiled, that knowing smile that suggested she'd seen this coming all along. Oh, sweetheart, this is just the beginning. My office phone rang at 2:43 a.m. The number was blocked, but I knew who it was. Hello, Natalie. A pause, then a choked sob. How did you know? Because you always did your worst damage in the middle of the night. I leaned back in my chair, looking out at the city lights, a strange sense of calm washing over me. What do you want? I'm out on bail, she said, as if that explained everything. Mom and Dad won't answer my calls. No one will. That tends to happen when you steal from sick children. I didn't, She stopped, then her voice dropped to a desperate whisper. It wasn't supposed to be like this. You were supposed to be the failure, the disappointment, not me. Sorry to ruin your narrative. Can't you help me? Her voice cracked, raw with desperation. You have money now. Influence. You could make this go away, like you tried to make me go away. Silence. That's what I thought. I stood up, walking to the window, the city lights a distant, glittering promise. Goodbye, Natalie. Wait, she was crying now, truly crying. Please. You're my sister. No, I said quietly, a profound certainty in my voice. I stopped being your sister the day you decided to destroy me instead of accept me. I hung up, just as Michael knocked on my door. Late night, he asked, noting my expression. Just finishing some family business. I gestured to my laptop. Did you see the email from Grandma? He grinned. The one about her new foundation? Pretty bold move. Starting a children's charity to replace Natalie's. Even bolder, asking me to be on the board. I showed him the press release draft. She wants to announce it next week. Speaking of announcements, he handed me a tablet. On it was an email from my mother. Subject line, please read. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it. Chloe, it read. Your father and I are selling the house. The one we always said you weren't good enough to live up to. The one Natalie was supposed to inherit. We're donating the proceeds to Grandma's new foundation as restitution for what Natalie stole. We don't expect forgiveness. We don't deserve it. But you deserve to know that we finally see you. Not as we wanted you to be, but as you are. You won. Not because you proved us wrong, but because you proved yourself right. Mom. You okay? Michael asked softly. Before I could answer, Rachel buzzed in. Miss Francis, your grandmother's here. Grandma Eleanor walked in, impeccable as always. Good. You're both here. We need to talk about the foundation launch. At 3 a.m.? I asked. She smiled, a rare, genuine warmth in her eyes. Best time for fresh starts. She sat down, pulled out a folder. The DA called. Natalie took a plea deal. She's going away for a while. How long? Long enough to learn what it feels like to lose everything. She met my eyes, her gaze steady. Like you did once. I didn't lose everything, I corrected her gently. I left everything. There's a difference. Yes, she acknowledged. There is. She opened the folder. Now, about this foundation, I'm thinking big. Real change. Real help for families in need. No fake charities. No embezzlement. No lies. She looked up at me. Think you can handle that? I thought about Natalie's late-night call, about my mother's email, about that dinner 5 years ago when I walked away with nothing but my dignity. Actually, I said, pulling up a proposal on my laptop. I have some ideas. Michael quietly excused himself, leaving me with Grandma to plan something bigger than revenge. Redemption. Not for Natalie. Not for my parents. But for all the kids who needed what Natalie's charity had promised, but never delivered. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Brooke. Family group chat is wild. Everyone sharing your Forbes article. Even Uncle Richard admitted he was wrong about you. Times really do change. I showed it to Grandma, who chuckled softly. No, dear. Times don't change. People do. Some grow stronger. Some show their weakness. You just happened to do the former while your sister did the latter. And your parents, they're learning. She patted my hand. But that's not your problem anymore. You've got bigger things to build. Looking at the foundation plans spread across my desk, I realized she was right. I didn't need revenge anymore. I didn't even need their approval. I had something better. The truth. Not just about who I'd become, but about who I'd always been. Stronger than their doubts, bigger than their limitations, and finally, completely free of their shadows. Ready to change some lives? Grandma asked, pen poised over the foundation papers. I signed my name, not as Natalie's sister, not as my parents' disappointment, but as exactly who I was meant to be. I always have been. What do you think about my family's transformation? Have you ever had to walk away from toxic people to truly find yourself? Share your thoughts and stories in the comments below. I'm really curious to hear from you.